Incumbent National Chief Perry Bellegarde feels there is momentum for First Nations, but the work on closing the gap, as he put it, is not yet done. Bellegarde admits a better job must be done on certain fronts, but for those critical of the relevancy of the AFN, Bellegarde believes it's never been more relevant, and that's reflected, he says, in the fiscal resources going out to the people.
We've got $17 billion that we've advocated for over 7 fiscal years, which is more money than Kelowna, which was only $5 billion over 10 years. And that's to address housing and education and child welfare, everything that we need in our communities. But we're not jumping up and down because there's still a lot more work to get done. We still have 40,000 children in foster care that needs to be addressed, working towards First Nations jurisdiction over child and family services. We still have too many of our people in jails.
Sheila North is currently the Grand Chief of Manitoba, Kuwaitanawi-Okimakanak, representing First Nations in northern Manitoba. The former journalist believes life has improved for First Nations in the post-Stephen Harper era, but North worries the AFN is making decisions without the proper input.
You have to take the grassroots voices and opinions, and of course the chiefs, to the forefront more. We have to go to the places where we need to hear them and find a process that brings those voices out more to the forefront and clearer, because we have to be accountable to our communities and our families ultimately.
Former president of the Haida Nation, Miles Richardson, believes things have not improved in the 4 years since Perry Bellegarde was elected national chief. Richardson thinks now is the time to assert jurisdiction and take a step forward.
It's a crisis. I mean, I don't know how much worse it could get. Look at the situation that we're looking at with missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Look at the court system. Every time one of our people gets killed and shot by some homesteader, they get away with it. You look at the situation of water in this is Canada. Imagine how many Indigenous peoples don't even have clean drinking water.
Policy analyst Russ Diabo also feels now is a critical time for First Nations. Diabo accuses Bellegarde of being a cheerleader for the Trudeau government. He's calling for a restructuring of the AFN.
I know it's not working, and it hasn't worked. I've worked for 2 past national chiefs, so I know that organization from the inside. And it definitely needs to be changed and include the people's voices more. But it's not just AFN, it's from the communities on up, the band offices on up. We have to go beyond just the chief and council and band staff, reporting to Ottawa. It's a bigger system of change that we need, including in our thinking. We need to change our thinking before we can change our behavior.
Catherine Whitecloud of the Sioux Valley Dakota Nation in Manitoba has been engaged in community advocacy for over 30 years. Whitecloud says the national chief talks a lot of funding increases, but it's not enough to make differences. The primary concern is the children.
For all of what's been done in attempting to close the gap, it still is our children that are suffering the most. We have the highest number of deaths of children in care, the highest numbers of children in care, and probably in the Western Hemisphere. In fact, it is so. And children being apprehended at birth. And all those numbers, our children are still not graduating the numbers we want them to in an education system that doesn't address their needs, their special gifts, their innate talents.
The election for national chief will take place on July 25th in Vancouver.